my name is Kat, and due to popular request and frequent peer pressure, today I'm doing an updated bookshelf tour. So today I'm doing a bookshelf tour. I'm very excited. I hope you're excited. You probably are because many of you guys have been asking for this for months. Like a couple weeks after I posted my original tour, you guys wanted an updated one. It's been 6 months. It's time for an update. Let's do this thing. I'm going to start by doing a quickie overview of my shelves and like how I organize my shelves a little bit, and then I'm going to go back over them and do an in-depth tour of each shelf where I read the titles and show you guys the covers and stuff. This is going to be a very long video. If you just want to see the quickie overview, I'm going to do that in the first couple of minutes here, so it shouldn't take that long. But if you're going to watch the detailed book by book part of the tour, you probably want to grab a snack because, like I said in a recent video, I have about 450 books. So, gonna be a while. Alright, so these are my shelves in all of their shelfy glory. My shelves all used to be along this wall right here, but yesterday I got a new shelf, so I decided to move them down a little bit and wrap them around the corner. Yeah, that's how it goes now. My book corner. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tall shelves and a little bookshelf that doesn't have books on it. And there's a sign and some NaNoWriMo stuff. We'll get there. So let's do a quickie overview starting with this shelf. This top shelf is fantasy paperback series. This next shelf is complete fantasy trilogies with matching covers. Yeah, it gets a little specific. This next shelf is tall books. Instead of having a shelf of unevenly sized books, I put all my tall books on this shelf. See? Tall, not tall, tall, not tall. And then below that, I have my Twilight, Harry Potter, and Lord of the Rings stuff. There's also, I think, the Golden Compass in there. This next top shelf is also fantasy paperbacks, most of them series or trilogies, and there actually are a couple of hardcovers up there as well, because there's always gotta be some book that doesn't quite fit in with the rest. One of these things is not like the other. Moving on. Then I have another shelf of hardcover fantasy series. Most of them are complete. Below that, I have a shelf of duos. Matching duos at that. I think most of these are trilogies, a couple of them are series, maybe 4 books, but all I have so far are the first 2 books. So, matching duos, young adult hardcover shelf. And this bottom shelf here is more young adult hardcover books, but these ones are mostly not series, or they are companion, or they are the first book of a series, or they are books by authors who have books elsewhere in my shelves. Complicated. Then down at the very bottom I have some cookbooks, a jug full of money, that's my retirement fund. I haven't added much to it, so I still got a long way before I retire, and some comic books, music books, drawing books, random stuff like that. So now we're in the corner here, and this top shelf here is contemporary, mostly contemporary paperbacks, mostly paperbacks. Below that is contemporary hardcovers, mostly hardcovers. There's a couple paperbacks. Below that is my guilt shelf. These are all books that are, most of them, I believe, the first book in a series, but these are all books that I have not read. First books in series, some of them are just the only books I own by that author, but either way, have not read these. I need to read these. Below that, I have kind of a mix-match shelf. It's mostly hardcovers, though there are some paperbacks, mostly young adult. You may have noticed I've been trying to make sure all of my shelves stay even. Even height, even height, even height, even my tall books, even height. But this one is just a mismatch of heights. The bottom shelf of this bookcase, I have some D&D books and some Buffy books, a file box thing, and some binders. So yesterday I got a new bookshelf and I put it together, and when I was moving this bookshelf, which I believe is the oldest one, it kind of broke. It is still standing, though I mostly think that's because these 2 shelves surrounding it are holding it up, but it's pretty flimsy, and if any of them are about to break, it's this one. So I had to take it easy, mostly just paperbacks. The top shelf is contemporary paperbacks, mostly contemporary, a couple magic realism books in there. Next shelf, all paperbacks, mostly young adult, mostly fantasy. This is the shelf of adult slash big ass book slash classic slash the 2 random audiobooks that I own. This shelf is mostly mass market paperback and mostly adult books, though there is at least 1 hardcover and a couple of young adult books in there as well. The very bottom shelf has yearbooks and some shoe boxes. Very entertaining stuff. Next shelf. This is my tiny collection of ARCs, and I use some magic cards as a bookend because why not? Below that I have my foreign language books. I actually have a couple Spanish books, but I have no idea where those are right now. But I have some Korean books, some Japanese books, and then these 3 at the end are just blank journals that are still blank. I'm saving them for something special. Next shelf is more nonfiction. I have some writing craft books, a couple other nonfiction books, and then this shelf is textbooks or other books I had for school or just the random writer's market book. And a clarinet! The bottom shelf has a amp and some CDs. And finally over here I have my glorious NaNoWriMo inspiration board with a little green bow that Caitlin sent me for Christmas? Yeah, it was Christmas. I have my no entry bus loading zone sign, which I obtained in a completely legal way, my jar of happiness and good things, and then this shelf doesn't have books on it. It's just some random video games, my old camera, and notebooks. And we're not going to look anymore at that because it's messy. Alright, that concludes the quickie tour. I am now going to go through shelf by shelf and tell you guys the titles and show you the covers. This is the part where you need a snack. Okay, so first shelf of young adult fantasy paperback series mostly. First on this shelf I have the Morganville Vampires. Volume 1 is the first 2 books and it includes Glass Houses and The Dead Girls Dance. Volume 2, which includes Midnight Alley and Feast of Fools. Volume 3, which includes Lord of Misrule and Carpe Corpus. And Volume 4, which includes Fade Out and Kiss of Death. These are the first 8 books in the Morganville Vampire series by Rachel Caine. Moving on, I have Cassandra Clare, City of Bones, City of Ashes, and City of Glass. Next, I have the Wake trilogy by Lisa McMahon, and that includes Wake, Fade, and Gone. Next is the first 3 books in the Vampire Academy series. Book 1, Vampire Academy by Rochelle Mead. Book 2 is Frostbite. And Book 3 is Shadow Kiss. Next, I have the Maximum Ride books. I have 5 of them. I won them in a contest along with a couple other James Patterson books on another shelf. But for this series, I have Maximum Ride, The Angel Experiment, Book 1, Maximum Ride, School's Out Forever, Book 2, and Maximum Ride, Saving the World and Other Extreme Sports, Book 3. And those first 3 books are part of a series called The Fugitives, Book 1, Book 2, Book 3, and then I have The Protectors, Book 1, which is The Final Warning, and The Protectors Book 2, which is just called Max. Next, I have the Percy Jackson and the Olympians series. We have Book 1, The Lightning Thief, Book 2, Sea of Monsters, Book 3, The Titan's Curse, Book 4, The Battle of the Labyrinth, and Book 5, The Last Olympian, which I am currently reading and loving, and I'm so excited to finish this series and start the next one. And the last series on this shelf is Uglies by Scott Westerfeld. I have Uglies, Book 1 of the trilogy, Pretties, Book 2 of the trilogy, and Specials, Book 3 of the trilogy. I also have Extras, which is not part of the trilogy, but it is set in the same world as Uglies, Pretties, and Specials, and it features some of the same characters. It's like a companion novel to the trilogy. Next shelf, I have young adult, hardcover, fantasy, complete trilogies with matching covers. That is very specific. I'll start with the Graceling trilogy by Kristen Cashore, and that is composed of Graceling, Fire, and Bitterblue. Next, I have my Hunger Games trilogy, which is The Hunger Games, Catching Fire, and Mockingjay. Then I have the Chemical Garden trilogy by Lauren DeStefano, and that is Wither, Fever, and Sever. Next is the Unearthly trilogy by Cynthia Hand. Book 1 is Unearthly, Book 2 is Hollowed, and Book 3 is Boundless. Then I have the Hex Hall trilogy by Rachel Hawkins. Book 1, Hex Hall. Book 2, Demon Glass. And Book 3, Spellbound. Next, I have the Shiver trilogy by Maggie Stiefvater, and that is Shiver, Book 1, Linger, Book 2, and Forever, Book 3. And finally on this shelf, I have the Paranormalcy trilogy by Kirsten White, and this trilogy is composed of Book 1, Paranormalcy, Book 2, Supernaturally, and Book 3, Endlessly. This next shelf is hardcover, young adult, fantasy, mostly trilogies, tall books. First is The Diviners by Libba Bray, and this is book 1 in a new trilogy. Then I have Etiquette and Espionage by Gail Carriger, also book 1 in a new series or trilogy. I'm not sure yet. Next I have City of Fallen Angels, which is book 4 in the Mortal Instruments series. I have the first 3 in paperbacks. They were at the top. We already saw those. This is book 4. It has that annoying black mark on it because I got it at bargain price. Ugh. And City of Lost Souls is book 5 in the Mortal Instruments series. Next I have the Infernal Devices trilogy by Cassandra Clare, and that is made up of Clockwork Angel. Book 2 is Clockwork Prince, and book 3 is Clockwork Princess. Next I have the Matched trilogy by ALEXIE, and this trilogy is composed of Matched, book 1, Crossed, book 2, and Reached, book 3, which is a pretty thick book. Next up I have the Across the Universe trilogy, and that is composed of book 1, Across the Universe, book 2, A Million Suns, and book 3 with the stupid unmatching cover. I mean, it's not stupid by itself, but seriously, matching covers. What the hell, publishers? Shades of Earth by Beth Revis, the final book in the trilogy. Even though my bookshelves as a whole are a little bit random, each shelf is alphabetized, except for this one, the sole reason being the Shades of Earth cover. Because Laini Taylor's books should come before Scott Westerfeld's books, but Shades of Earth matches the Leviathan series a little bit better than this one, so it looks a little bit nicer this way. But anyways, moving on, we have the Leviathan series by Scott Westerfeld. First book is Leviathan, next book is Behemoth, and the third and final book is Goliath. And then we have the Laini Taylor books here at the end. I have Daughter of Smoke and Bone, the first book in the trilogy, Days of Blood and Starlight, the second book in the trilogy, and this book is not a part of the trilogy, but it is by Laini Taylor, and it is a tall book, so this is the shelf it lives on, and that is Lips Touch 3 Times by Laini Taylor. It is a collection of 3 short stories that all revolve around a kiss. And for this next shelf, I have my Stephanie Meyer, my J.K. Rowling, my J.R.R. Tolkien, and a Pullman book that didn't really belong anywhere else, so it's here. First, we have Twilight by Stephanie Meyer. New Moon, which I actually just bought this copy. I had loaned my copies of Twilight and New Moon to a friend about 5 years ago, and I haven't seen the friend since. So my mom got me Twilight as a Christmas present about 6 years after it came out, but I needed a new copy anyways, and I just recently bought this copy of New Moon because I was tired of the empty spot. I also have Eclipse, which I clearly bought at Walmart. Stupid stickers. And Breaking Dawn, which I also bought at Walmart, but I think I took the sticker off. And of course, I have The Host by Stephanie Meyer, which was an awesome book, but I still need to see the movie. Then we move on to my Harry Potter collection. Many of them are missing dust jackets and are kind of beat up. All of my Harry Potter books, except for the 7th one, are original first American editions. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. I got this when I was 12. Don't judge me for the bad condition of this book. Then I have Chamber of Secrets, which has a dust jacket miraculously. The Prisoner of Azkaban, which does not have a dust jacket. The Goblet of Fire, which is really kind of fallen apart. The Order of the Phoenix, which is actually probably the one in the best condition. The Half-Blood Prince, and the Deathly Hallows, which I have in a in a paperback because I lost my beautiful first edition hardcover and I was too cheap to replace it with another hardcover, so paperback. Then over here I have 2 more books by J.K. Rowling. I have Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and The Casual Vacancy, J.K. Row's adult book. And then I have The Golden Compass by Philip Pullman. It does not have a jacket, and I do not have the rest of this trilogy. Then I have The Hobbit, and The Lord of the Rings omnibus of all 3 books. Alright, now we're on the top shelf of bookcase number 2. Told you this was gonna take forever. This shelf is mostly young adult fantasy series paperback, but there are some hardcovers in there and a couple books that aren't series. But I'll explain that as I go through it. Let's start with these 2 books right here. The Looking Glass Wars by Frank Beddor, and the sequel to that book, Seeing Red. Next I have my Ender's Game series. I got these 4 books in a box set. Book 1, Ender's Game. Book 2, Speaker for the Dead. Book 3, Xenocide. And Book 4, Children of the Mind. Next I have 2 books in the Monster Blood Tattoo series, or trilogy, I'm not sure. The first of which is Foundling by D.M. Cornish. And the sequel is Lamplighter, also by D.M. Cornish. Next up, I have 2 books in a vampire series, and those books are Evernight by Claudia Gray, and the sequel Stargazer. Then I have the first 2 books. Oh my god, they're in the wrong order. You didn't see that. Next, I have the first 2 books in the Eyes Like Stars trilogy by Lisa Mantchev. Book 1, Eyes Like Stars, and Book 2, Perchance to Dream. Next, I have 2 really shiny books. Hold Me Closer, Necromancer by Lish McBride, and the sequel, which is almost so shiny you can't read it, Necromancing the Stone. Next, I have the first 3 books in the Demon Trapper series. I know the 4th book is out. I'm not sure if that's the final book or not, but I have The Demon Trapper's Daughter, Book 1, Soul Thief, Book 2, and Forgiven, Book 3. And here are those other James Patterson books that I mentioned I won, along with the Maximum Ride series. I also got the Maximum Ride manga, The Dangerous Days of Daniel X, and the sequel, Daniel X Watch the Skies. Next, I have 3 books that are all the first book in a series, all by Maria V. Snyder. And these 3 books were from another contest that I won, which is why I only have the first books for these 3 series and not any other ones. But I have Inside Out by Maria V. Snyder, Stormglass, and this one is actually signed, and Poison Study by Maria V. Snyder. Next, I have 2 novels that were originally in Japanese, and then the Japanese novels were adapted into an anime, and then I saw the anime and I loved it, so I had to buy the English translation of these novels just to check it out. Book 1 is The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya, and this is what the anime is also titled, if you were curious. And then I have Book 2, The Sigh of Haruhi Suzumiya. And finally, at the end of this shelf, I have 3 more Scott Westerfeld paperbacks that didn't really fit anywhere else. I have a lot of Scott Westerfeld books. I think I have more Scott Westerfeld books than any other author, possibly. I have 10 Scott Westerfeld books. That's quite a bit. But anyways, I have So Yesterday by Scott Westerfeld, Peeps, and the sequel to Peeps, The Last Days. My next shelf is another young adult fantasy, hardcover mostly, complete series mostly. The first series on this list is the Curse Workers trilogy by Holly Black. Book 1 is White Cat, Book 2 is Red Glove, and Book 3 is Black Heart. Next up, I have Libba Bray's Great and Terrible Beauty trilogy, which starts with A Great and Terrible Beauty. Book 2 is Rebel Angels, and Book 3 is The Sweet Far Thing. Next, I have my Castor Chronicles series. They all match and look beautiful. I love it. Beautiful Creatures by Cami Garcia and Margaret Stoll. Then we have Beautiful Darkness, Beautiful Chaos, and Beautiful Redemption. Next, I have the Delirium trilogy by Lauren Oliver. Delirium, Book 1, Cover doesn't match, so depressing. Pandemonium, book 2, and Requiem, book 3. I also have Delirium Stories, which is just a little tiny book with a couple short stories in it set in the Delirium world. Next on this shelf, I have Divergent by Veronica Roth and Insurgent by Veronica Roth. And this space is just waiting for that third book. Just waiting. And then at the very end there, I have the Shade trilogy by Jerry Smith Reddy. Book 1, Shade. Book 2 is Shift. And book 3 is Shine. The next shelf is young adult fantasy hardcover duos. And by duos, I mean books 1 and 2 of a series or trilogy, or in one case, a companion novel. First, I have Everneath by Brody Ashton, and the sequel to that is Everbound. Then I have Mistwood by Leah Sipes, and Night Spell is a companion novel, not a direct sequel. Then I have The Body Finder by Kimberly Derting, and book 2 is Desires of the Dead. Next is Ruby Red by Kirsten Gear, and the sequel to that is Sapphire Blue. Then I have the first 2 books of the His Fair Assassin trilogy. Grave Mercy by Robin Lefevers is book 1, and Dark Triumph, also by Robin Lefevers, is book 2. After that, I have Wondrous Strange by Leslie Livingston, and the sequel, Darklight. Next is Legend by Marie Lu, and the sequel, Prodigy. Then I have Hourglass by Myra McIntyre. Timepiece is book 2, and the third book in this trilogy actually comes out in August, so not too far away. Why are they all backwards? Next, I have Cinder by Marissa Meyer, which is book 1 in the Lunar Chronicles, and Scarlet is book 2. Next, I have Under the Never Sky by Veronica Rossi, and the sequel to that is Through the Evernight. And finally, down at the end, I have The Monstrumologist by Rick Yancey, and the sequel to that is The Curse of the Wendigo. Next, I have a shelf that is organized a little bit randomly. Most of these books are by authors who have other books, such as trilogies that are contained elsewhere in my shelves. First, I have The Darkest Minds by Alexandra Bracken, and then I have Brightly Woven by Alexandra Bracken, and this one was actually her debut novel. Next, I have 2 standalones by Libba Bray, since her trilogy books are elsewhere in my shelves. Going Bovine, and Beauty Queens by Libba Bray. Next, I have The Name of the Star by Maureen Johnson, and this one is autographed. Isn't that cool? Next, I have 2 books by Elisa McMahon. The other books I own by her are the Wake trilogy, which is up on a top fantasy shelf somewhere. I have The Unwanteds by Lisa McMahon, which is more of a middle grade book, and I believe this is the first book in a series. And I also have Crier's Cross by Lisa McMahon, and this is a young adult fantasy thriller standalone. Next, I have some more Lauren Oliver books. The Delirium trilogy is up on the trilogy shelf, so down here I have Before I Fall by Lauren Oliver, and Liesel and Poe, also by Lauren Oliver. This is a middle grade novel. Next, I have my Jackson Pierce books, because it's not yet complete, and there's still more books coming, and this is just where I felt they belong. I have As You Wish, which was Jackson Pierce's debut novel. Then I have the first 3 books in her fairy tale retelling companion novel series thing, starting with Sisters Red. Book 2 is Sweetly, and book 3 is Fathomless, and book 4 is called Cold Spell, and that comes out this fall. Next, I have my books by Victoria Schwab. I have her standalone debut, The Near Witch, and then I have book 1 in her new series, The Archived. Next, I have my extra Maggie Stiefvater books. I have the Shiver trilogy, Up Where the Shiver trilogy lives. And down here I have The Scorpio Races, Maggie Stiefvater's standalone young adult fantasy novel, and The Raven Boys, which is book 1 in a new trilogy or series. Next, I have Mind Games by Kirsten White. I have her Paranormalcy trilogy up on the trilogy shelf, so Mind Games book 1 in her new trilogy or series is down here. Finally on this shelf, I have A Need So Beautiful by Suzanne Young. And I have this one down here because I have a couple other contemporary books by her, which are on the contemporary shelf. I'm not really going to get into this shelf in detail. I just have some cookbooks on this end. And on this side, I have some books about drawing manga, some music books, guitar books, a Pokemon guide, and some Foxtrot comic books. Just some random stuff down here. And let's actually get this bottom corner while we're here. D&D books, 4th edition, which turns out is one of the lamer editions, but we're playing Pathfinder now, so they're useless. I also have the Buffy the Vampire Slayer role-playing game core rulebook. I've never played this, no one will play with me. And I also have the Buffy the Vampire Slayer Watcher's Guides. I have Volume 1, Volume 2, and Volume 3. Then there's a box that I intended to file stuff in, but I'm bad at filing stuff. And in these binders here I have magic cards and just some random Japanese language study material. And now we move on to the next bookcase, to the very top shelf, on which I have my young adult, mostly contemporary, mostly paperback, mostly series shelf. First up, I have some books by Ali Carter. I tell you I love you, but then I have to kill you. The second book is Cross My Heart and Hope to Spy. Next up, also by Ali Carter, I have the first 3 books in the Heist Society series. Book 1 is Heist Society, Book 2 is Uncommon Criminals, and Book 3 is Perfect Scoundrels. Next, I have the Perfect Chemistry trio of companion novels by Simone Elcoez. Book 1 is Perfect Chemistry, Book 2 is Rules of Attraction, and Book 3 is Chain Reaction. Next, I have 3 books that are not young adult books. These are adult books, but they're contemporary paperbacks and they go together, so they're on this shelf. None of my books are in the right order today. What have I done? Book 1 is Something Borrowed by Emily Giffin, and then I have Something Blue, also by Emily Giffin, and finally, Love the One You're With. Next, I have my Georgia Nicholson series, and I have the first 9 books. There is a 10th book, which I do not own yet, but I will obtain it soon. This series is composed of Angus, Thongs, and Full Frontal Snogging. On the bright side, I am now the girlfriend of a sex god, knocked out by my nunga nungas, dancing in my nudie pants, away laughing on a fast camel, then he ate my boy entrancers, startled by his furry shorts, love is a many-trousered thing, and finally stop in the name of pants. Next up, I have the first 4 books in the Pretty Little Liars series by Sarah Shepard. Pretty Little Liars, Flawless, Perfect, and Unbelievable. Then I have 3 books by Courtney Summers. 2 of them are contemporary, 1 of them is a fantasy zombie novel. I have Cracked Up to Be, Some Girls Are, and This Is Not a Test. Then I have 2 contemporary YA novels by Kristen Walker, A Match Made in High School, and 7 Clues to Winning You. And then here I have my other Suzanne Young books, The Naughty List, and the sequel to The Naughty List, So Many Boys. Next, I have young adult, mostly contemporary, mostly hardcover books. 13 Reasons Why by Jay Asher. Then this one is a bind-up of 2 books by Meg Cabot. It was originally published as the 1-800 Where Are You series, but now it's published under a different name, Vanished. Next, I have If I Stay by Gail Forman, and the sequel to that, Where She Went. Then I have Babe in Boyland by Jody Gurman. And now we come to the John Green books. Looking for Alaska, Paper Towns, Will Grayson by John Green and also David Levithan, and of course The Fault in Our Stars. Next I have 2 books by Julie Halpern, Into the Wild Nerd Yonder, and Get Well Soon. Then I have The Secret Year by Jennifer Hubbard, Amplified by Tara Kelly, C by Heidi R. Kling, Every Day by David Levithan, Peace, Love, and Baby Ducks by Lauren Miracle, The Sky is Everywhere by Jandy Nelson, Anna and the French Kiss by Stephanie Perkins, another autographed book. Then I have Lola and the Boy Next Door, also by Stephanie Perkins. This one's also signed. Then I have TMI by Sarah Quigley, Eleanor and Park by Rainbow Rowell, The Catastrophic History of You and Me by Jess Rothenberg, Mostly Good Good Girls by Layla Sales, Past Perfect, also by Layla Sales, The Statistical Probability of Love at First Sight by Jennifer E. Smith, and finally on this shelf I have Donut Days by Laura Zeelan. The next shelf is young adult, hardcover, mostly fantasy, all books that I have not read but that I need to, and also all of these books, these are the only ones by that author that I own. First, I have Cruel by Jennifer Albin, Chime by Franny Billingsley, The Girl of Fire and Thorns by Ray Carson, Tempest by Julie Cross, The Maze Runner by James Dashner, Incarceron by Catherine Fisher, The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman, Lux by Anna Godberson, Blood Magic by Tessa Gratton, The Unbecoming of Mara Dyer by Michelle Hodkin, Splintered by A.G. Howard, Firelight by Sophie Jordan, Awaken by Katie Kakvinsky, Fallen by Lauren Kate, Meridian by Amber Keyser, Shatter Me by Tahira Mafi, Incarnate by Jody Meadows, Let the Sky Fall by Shannon Messenger, Black City by Elizabeth Richards, Codename Verity by Elizabeth Wayne, Pivot Point by Casey West, and What's Left of Me by Kat Zhang. Those are all the books I need to read. And then this shelf is just a mismatch of books that really didn't fit anywhere else. Some of them are hardcovers, some of them are paperbacks, some are contemporary, some are fantasy, some are young adult, some are middle grade. Whatever other mostly hardcovers I had that didn't really fit anywhere else, I threw them on this shelf. I have Candor by Pam Bachors, Ashes by Isla J. Bick, an Artemis Fowl book, The Opal Deception by Owen Colfer, Powerless by Matthew Cody, Give Up the Ghost by Megan Crew, The Rise of Renegade X by Chelsea M. Campbell, Never After by Dan L. Conan, Carrier of the Mark by Lee Fallon, Hush Hush by Becca Fitzpatrick, An Abundance of Catherines by John Green, Clarity by Kim Harrington, Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Dog Days by Jeff Kinney, Liar by Justine Larballestier, and How to Ditch Your Fairy, also by her. I Am Number 4 by Pittacus Lore, Jellicoe Road by Melina Marchetta, Possess by Gretchen McNeil, Bran Hambrick and the Farfield Curse by Caleb Nation, Wings by April Lynn Pike, Silver Phoenix by Cindy Pon, Deadly Little Secret by Lori Faria Stolars, Dream Dark Blackbringer by Laini Taylor, Voices of Dragons by Carrie Vaughn, Generation Dead by Daniel Waters, and finally The Replacement by Brenna Jovanov. Alright, now we move on to bookcase number 4 of 5, so we are nearly done. This entire bookcase is mostly paperbacks because this is the most flimsy bookcase. Yeah, it wobbles quite a bit, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be the first one to collapse, and I just hope I'm filming when it happens, because I bet it will be awesome looking. Less awesome to clean up and deal with the aftermath. But anyways, this top shelf of this bookcase is all paperbacks, mostly young adult contemporary, though there are a few adult novels and a few fantasy novels, or at least kind of magic realism novels. I have The Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian by Sherman Alexie. Then I have my Laurie Hales Anderson books. I have Fever 1793, Prom, Speak, and Twisted. Then I have The Hate List by Jennifer Brown, a couple of Meg Cabot books, Pants on Fire, and Teen Idol. Then I have Ready Player One by Ernest Cline, Waiting for You by Suzanne Colasanti, Dash and Lily's Book of Dares by Rachel Cohn and David Levithan, The Sky Always Hears Me and the Hills Don't Mind by Kristen Crone Mills, Whip It by Shauna Cross, Don't Breathe a Word by Holly Kupala, Along for the Ride by Sarah Dessen. Next I have 3 books by Maureen Johnson, Girl at Sea, The Key to the Golden Firebird, and 13 Little Blue Envelopes. Next I have Hold Still by Nina LaCour, Epic Fail by Claire Lazebnik, Carrie Pilby by Karen Listener, Drama Rama by E. Lockhart, The Disreputable History of Frankie Landau Banks, also by E. Lockhart, Saving Francesca by Melina Marchetta, Bloodthirsty by Flynn Meaney, Invincible Summer by Hannah Moskowitz, The Time Traveler's Wife by Audrey Niffenegger, 20 Boy Summer by Sarah Aukler, Fight Club by Chuck Palahniuk, Silver Linings Playbook by Matthew Quick, The Liar Society by Lisa and Laura Roker, Good Girls by Laura Ruby, When You Reach Me by Rebecca Steed, Kissing Games of the World by Sandy Kahn Shelton, and Gossip Girl by Cecily von Ziegesar. This next shelf is all paperbacks, mostly young adult fantasy, though there are a few adult fantasy books, and I think this shelf has a couple historical books that are not fantasy, but they are historical, so they're not on the contemporary shelf. First, I have Feed by M.T. Anderson, Plain Kate by Erin Bow, Vacations from Hell, which is a collection of short stories by many authors. You can see some of them listed here. The Demon's Lexicon by Sarah Reese Brennan, Glimmerglass by Jenna Black, Blue Bloods by Melissa De La Cruz, Burn Bright by Marianne Despierres, Revolution by Jennifer Donnelly, A Northern Light, also by Jennifer Donnelly, Bewitching Season by Marissa Doyle, The City of Ember by Jeanne Duprat. Next is A Tale Dark and Grim by Adam Gidwitz, The Death Day Letter by Sean David Hutchinson, You Are So Undead to Me by Stacey J, Devilish, another book by Maureen Johnson, though this one is fantasy, which is why it's on this shelf, Need by Carrie Jones, The Dust of 100 Dogs by A.S. King, The Season by Sarah McLean, Infinite Days by Rebecca Maisel, Warm Bodies by Isaac Marion, Ink Exchange by Melissa Marr, Hero by Perry Moore, Evermore by Allison Noel, Damage by Anya Parrish, The Adoration of Jenna Fox by Mary E. Pearson, The Ruby and the Smoke by Philip Pullman, The Forest of Hands and Teeth by Carrie Ryan, Cirque du Freak Living Nightmare by Darren Shawn, Strange Angels by Lily St. Crow, Enchanted by Shauna Swenson, Witch Eyes by Scott Tracy, My Soul to Take by Rachel Vincent, A Certain Slant of Light by Laura Whitcomb, and finally on this shelf, The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak. This shelf is kind of a mix of big adult books, a handful of classics, and the 2 audiobooks that I own. First, I have the complete novels of Jane Austen. Then I have another bind-up. This is the Black Jewels trilogy by Anne Bishop, all 3 books in this one big book. Then I have Pirate Latitudes by Michael Crichton. Next I have 2 Stephen King books, Under the Dome, which is such a gigantic book, and I also have Dreamcatcher, which does not have a dust jacket, so I apologize. Then I have Breathless by Dean Koontz. After those big books, I have a couple paperback classic type of books. Canterbury Tales by Geoffrey Chaucer, The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald, and if you're wondering why all of my books look like they have been stolen from school, mind your own business. To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee, The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger, Hamlet by Shakespeare, Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, and The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain. And the 2 audiobooks I have are Dreamdark Silkslinger by Laini Taylor, and The Fault in Our Stars audiobook as read by John Green. It came with cool bonus stuff like postcards and a bracelet and some other stuff. And finally, down here at the bottom of this shelf, I have some mass market paperbacks, or at least most of them are mass market paperbacks. Most of them are also adult books, though there are a few young adult ones thrown in there. I have Dead Perfect by Amanda Ashley, The Queen of Stone by Keith Baker, The Doom of Kings by Dawn Bassingthwaite, The Da Vinci Code by Dan Brown, Soulless by Gail Carriger, The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky, Unlucky by Jana DeLeon, Rumble on the Bayou, also by Jana DeLeon, How to Deal by Sarah Dessen. This is actually Someone Like You and That Summer, just bound up together in one book. 3 to Get Deadly by Janet Ivanovich, and Plum Loving, also by Janet Ivanovich, Going Too Far by Jennifer Eccles, and Forget You, also by Jennifer Eccles, Making Waves by Tana Fensky, Let It Snow, a collection of 3 short stories by John Green, Maureen Johnson, and Laura Reborn Miracle. Dead Until Dark by Charlaine Harris, the first book in the Sookie Stackhouse series. Unholy Ghosts by Stacia Kane. From a Buick 8 by Stephen King. The Giver by Lois Lowry. City Under the Sand by Jeff Marioette. The Doorkeepers by Graham Masterton. Dress Rehearsal by Jennifer O'Connell. Guards by Terry Pratchett. The Lovely Bones by Alice Sebold. Magic Lost, Trouble Found by Lisa Sheeran. Finally, Far From You by Lisa Schroeder. For this final bookcase, I'm just going to quickly show you them because they're not novels, they're all nonfiction, or in this case arcs. These are all of the arcs that I have gotten over my 7 years of collecting books. Most of them I won in contests or traded other books for these arcs. However, this one, Before I Fall, was sent to me by the publisher. I made a blog post talking about how I was really looking forward to Before I Fall, and they contacted me and wanted to send me a book. This next shelf is my Korean and Japanese language books. This right here is the Pilsner Japanese audiobook learning system, so there's some CDs in there. This is another nonfiction shelf, though this focuses more on writing craft. I have this book. It's about how to use my camera. Obviously, I haven't read it because I'm bad at camera. I have Story by Robert McKee, 3 books by Donald Mass. I have Writing the Breakout Novel, The Fire in the Fiction, and Writing 21st Century Fiction. I also have Save the Cat by Blake Snyder. This is about screenplays, but it's still relevant to writing craft and awesome. Screenplay by Sid Field. Bird by Anne Lamott, and this actually isn't so much about writing craft advice as it is just about writing and like life advice for writers. Then I have Self-Editing for Fiction Writers by Rennie Brown and Dave King. Then I have The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell, not a writing craft book, but totally fascinating nonetheless. And I also have The Forest for the Trees by Betsy Lerner. Like Bird by Bird, this is not so much about the technical details of writing craft, but more about just writing and life. Then I have The Survivors Club by Ben Sherwood. And then I have a couple of kinda silly astrology books. Astrologically Incorrect and Dark Side Zodiac. Then below that shelf I have some textbooks. I'm not going to go through those. A clarinet, an amp, some blank CDs, and then this is where I get games and just a mess of notebooks and stuff. We also don't need to look at that. Because yeah, that is pretty much everything. Let's do one last long view. Yeah, look at that shelf. Look at those shelves. Look at them. Look at all the shelves, so many books, oh my god. Alright, that is everything. Those are all of my books. I showed all of them to you. I do not own any more books. Actually, that's a little bit of a lie. I got some books in the mail today. Shh. Anyways, that is everything I had for this video today. Was it long enough for you? It was long enough for me. I'm done. Dunsies. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you have a lovely night, and I will have another video up soon. So I will see you then. Goodbye!